Hola, soy Carlos González, firmo en Movistar eSports como Gorrins y aunque no me dejan muy a menudo hacer face to face, hoy sí me lo han permitido mis compis para entrevistar a Minh, que es el creador de Counter-Strike y que está dando conferencias en Gamelab estos días. Vamos a ver qué nos cuenta. Well, first of all, thank you very much. It's such a great honor to be interviewing the co-creator of one of my favorite games. So I just wanted...
My pleasure.
I was wondering, how are you finding all this COVID situation? I mean, how do you think it affects the game developers' situation or game developers' environment? And is this kind of events, the Gamelab, the future of gaming events?
Well, as a game developer, I feel that it hasn't affected me too much because my company, based in South Korea, Korea has handled the COVID so well that we were never in lockdown, actually. We were just, I think it was only for 1 week where we were in lockdown. And then after that, we all just went back to work and I just worked in the office. So personally, for me, I didn't really feel any effects. But for my friends who are in game development, they told me that there was a bit of a change period where they had to adjust. But for the most part, the game developers that I know were able to work from home quite well because, as you know, the game development stuff, you can kind of do it at home on a computer. So you don't really need to be in the office so much for it. So I feel the game industry hasn't really been impacted too much with the COVID. So thankfully, we've been able to kind of keep going.
About the events, so what's your opinion about, E3 was cancelled?
It's disappointing to, yeah, exactly, and as well as Gamelab, yeah, for sure. I think our company we actually were planning an event at E3, so it affected us kind of quite heavily because we invested a lot of time and money into that. So I think personally, I thought it was a big disappointment to see all of these live events being canceled. But I'm hopeful that it'll be resolved by next year, and eventually we'll get back to the normal routine. So, but yeah, for sure, I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't have to do this in person because I did enjoy going to these events in person, like Gamelab, for example. Yeah, visiting Barcelona was beautiful. So
it would be great to have you next year, if that's even possible. The thing is that it's been 21 years since the creation of Counter-Strike. Probably the work that you're mostly known about. So did you ever dream of how far this game has reached? Because thanks to this game, you've been ranked as top 100 game creators of all time. So
yeah, I was kind of I was embarrassed by that. I didn't think I felt that there wasn't much to choose from, so I think they just picked me. So I would have picked some other people, but I mean, I always tell people I feel like I got lucky with Counter-Strike because it came out at a time when the game industry was really quite young, and there wasn't many games like Counter-Strike. So it was easy to fill that niche that was missing. That at the time there was no game that had like a focus on like realistic team play and really just focused on teamwork. So I felt that we just kind of came in at the right time, and the longevity of Counter-Strike, like 20 years. I'm kind of I am very surprised that it still maintained such a high popularity. You know, I thought it would kind of die down a little bit. You know, but I still didn't think it would be like the top 3 most played FPS in 2020. So it does take me as a bit of a surprise, but I guess it just kind of it proves to me that the theme of Counter-Strike, and also this the fact that Counter-Strike is so it hasn't changed much in 20 years. You know, it's kind of remained kind of the same. The core gameplay has been the same, and I think that's something that players kind of appreciate because it allows them to practice their skills and kind of get better, knowing that the game won't change like a couple years down the road. So I think it helps with growing the competitive eSports scene with the game that's very stable like that. Yeah.
Well, you put this very easy because that was one of the questions that I had. So, but you said that back in the time in 1999, there wasn't many games that treated the shooter genre as realistic as they are now. I mean, there's huge, huge amounts of games of this kind, and precisely right now there's one that you might have heard about it. It's Valorant from Riot Games, and many players are migrating from Counter-Strike to Valorant. Many great streamers and professional players and so on. And some of them, they say Valorant is going to kill Counter-Strike in the eSports scene. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see how Valorant is gonna be in about a year's time. So, I mean, I'm not like, I'd be like, I'm kind of neutral because I haven't been involved in Counter-Strike for like over 10 years. So if Valorant did overtake Counter-Strike, I would just be like, that's nice. Yeah, you know, I don't like, it doesn't really affect me personally, like even financially, because I don't really have any ties to Counter-Strike. But like it would I'd be very interested to see how people will react to Valorant. Because one of the reasons why I like Counter-Strike is because the theme of Counter-Strike, for me, it appeals to me. I've always kind of liked that realistic terrorist, counter-terrorist theme. So I feel like a lot of players still kind of enjoy that theme. So they may be hesitant to switch to Valorant because they kind of enjoy that theme. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of Counter-Strike players, they just play Counter-Strike because it's balanced and it's competitive and it's very team focused. So I think Valorant kind of offers that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of players do switch over from CSGO to Valorant because it does offer a new experience, but at the same time it kind of it's very, very like the Riot team, they paid attention to the focus on team balancing and just keeping the game to be very balanced and they kind of focused on the right things, that the things that made Counter-Strike popular. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Valorant became as popular as CSGO. So I'd be interested to see how things will be in a couple of years. Yeah.
You seem to know your way around. I mean, you've played Valorant for sure, right? So I'm guessing that you're not only a developer but also a gamer. Is that right?
Actually, to be honest, I haven't had time to play many games. I've just watched Valorant. I've kind of seen Valorant. I've watched how they kind of develop the game and I've watched a lot of videos on Valorant. So to me, it looks very similar to Counter-Strike in that it focuses on a lot of the individual skill of the players, while at the same time keeping that team-focused element. I'm pretty sure that it will do very well, especially with Riot behind it. So
you said that you don't have much time to spend playing, but you watch some games and so on, and you live in the cradle of eSports. I mean, you live in Seoul.
Yeah.
So how is that world? The question was, how is that world over there? I mean, I think you moved there 12 years ago. Is that right?
I did, yes. Initially, I was here 12 years ago, and I spent about 8 years here. And then I moved back to Canada for about 4 years. And then I came back to Korea because I was approached by Pearlbis to work on this new project. So recently, I've been in Korea for 2 years now. So, like as you say, Korea is a very, they love PC games, and they're really focused on they do enjoy their shooters. Like Overwatch is very popular, PUBG is popular here. Surprisingly, CSGO is not that popular here. It's not as popular as Overwatch or PUBG so yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure why. I'm not like, I don't know why that is. Maybe I feel that I think the Korean culture, or actually the Asian culture in general, they kind of they like the art style of like the like maybe Overwatch art style a bit more than the CS:GO art style, which is why I feel like Valorant may have a better chance of succeeding in Asia, like for example Korea. It might take off a bit better than CS:GO here. But yeah, as far as my own personal preference or my own gaming experience, yeah, these days I find that I'm so busy that I don't have much time to play many shooting games. Actually, but I do play a bit of Rainbow Six Siege. It's only because my friends play it and they force me to play it.
Okay.
So
that's a tough game. That's not.
It's a very hard game. It's very different than Counter-Strike. So it's much slower paced and it's much more tactical and much more. It actually requires much more teamwork than Counter-Strike, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like you can't just individually play. Like as a lone player, you have to really work together better. So in that aspect, I feel that it's much more rewards team play more so than Counter-Strike. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's slower than Counter-Strike. So yeah. Mm-hmm. I kind of enjoy Counter-Strike a bit more, to be honest.
Yeah, more action-packed and so on. You already described many of the things, many of the topics that I wanted to touch. So I'm going with the last one. Valve. You spent there, I think, about 6 years or 5 years, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. 6 years, I think. Yeah.
Since you created
it was from 2000 to 2006.
Yeah, something like that. That's what I've heard. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that this company has the secrecy values as the top value. And how was working over there? I mean, I've heard rumors that you were developing a sequel for Counter-Strike and it was put on hold and so on. And how's working in this top-notch company? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me at the time, I felt that they kind of gave me like a very hands-off approach. When I worked on the project, like it was supposed to be the sequel to Counter-Strike, they were very like they kind of let me do my own thing. So they let me kind of work independently, and they weren't really kind of like micromanaging me too much. So I mean, in my experience, they weren't very meddling or too much like overbearing. So I got a lot of freedom in terms of like how I can do my own development and my own like research. But I did get a chance to work on other projects like Day of Defeat, and so when I worked on that project, the team I worked with were very they were really talented and great team, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I felt like working at Valve was pretty much the similar working at any other big company, to be honest. But I think what the public sees from Valve are like they think it's very top secret and stuff. But I think the work environment was no different than what I experienced at other game companies. I think I feel like they're pretty similar, and they treat their employees really well. And I think one thing I noticed about Valve is they get to hire the best talent in the industry because everybody knows Valve, and so they attract a lot of top end talent. So the people that I got to work with at Valve were really incredibly smart, like really smart people, and so I was able to learn a lot and just grow a lot. Like my knowledge of game development was able to grow much quicker when I was at Valve. So I really enjoyed my time working there. I made a lot of great friends, and I really enjoyed it. I have no regrets over working there. And I mean, people always ask me about, so what's Gabe like? It's weird because he is very secretive. Even for me, as an employee, when I was working there, I didn't speak with him too much. I had some encounters with him maybe 10 times over time. I had lunch with him a couple of times. He's generally he's a nice guy. He's not mean or anything, but he can be kind of he's very eccentric. So he's like just I guess he's he asks very kind of strange questions that you don't really expect. Like sometimes, like I remember one time when I was having lunch, we were just having lunch, and he asked me he asked me a question that kind of caught me off guard. It was a difficult question for me to answer, and I felt like, wow, this is a really hard question. I'm just eating sushi here. Why are you asking me this question? So, I don't think he was trying to be mean or anything, but he's very blunt. I guess you can say. Like he's very like he doesn't beat around the bush. Like he's just upfront, and he's very honest, and he just like if he asks a question, he just wants an honest answer. He won't like he won't try to like play mind games with you. You know, he's very direct. Yeah, he's very direct. So that was the thing I noticed about him, and he was very eccentric. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we're out of time, but I'm guessing just a very short question. If you played right now Counter-Strike, how good would you be?
I'd be terrible. When I play Rainbow Six, I'm not very good actually. I tend to use the character with the shield. So then I just hide in front of my friends. So, but I'm not. My reflexes are pretty bad these days. So I would be pretty bad.
No eSports level. Okay, well.
No, God, no. Yeah.
That was fun. That was fun and very illustrating about the.
But, if my people always ask me what's my favorite gun in Counter-Strike.
Okay.
The MP5 was my favorite.
MP5.
Yeah, I love that gun because it allowed me to run and shoot. I love to run and gun.
I'll pass the word to the esports players that we know.
Yeah, so that's why I made the MP5. So that's why I made the MP5 so powerful.
Okay. Good to know. I'm not sure that this works out for CS:GO. Anyway, thank you very much,
probably not.
Mr. Lee, and
no
real honor to meet you, and see you around, maybe playing Counter-Strike, right?
Yeah, well, maybe, or probably Rainbow Six, probably. But it was nice to meet you, Juan. Yeah.
Let's do that. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, stay safe. Bye-bye.